We'll talk about that.
All right, I think we're ready to go here. I'm going to call the Peabody Municipal Lighting Commission regular meeting for April 28th, 2022 to order. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There are, Mr. Chairman. We would like to add, administration would like to request the addition of a presentation by MWEC Representative Matt Ide on the 2021A wind project. This should be added under Section F, Manager's Report.
All right, I'm looking to entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Second.
All four? Any opposed?
Four.
All right, I'd like to make an announcement and acknowledge that the open meeting law is in effect and inform the public that the meeting is being recorded by hand. And then we need to introduce some new employees.
You do. So we have 4 new employees. I'd like to welcome and introduce a few new employees who start here in April. Alex Bacon is with us, Director of our Information Systems and Services Department. Welcome, Alex.
Welcome back.
Hey, Alex.
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
I would like to remind everyone that Alex started here as a summer employee, worked his way through college, and then started as a full-time employee at what age? 22, 23?
22, I think.
Left us for a spell, and now he's back. I think it's a great story. So on behalf of the commission, I wish to welcome you back. We're glad to have you back, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
excited to be back.
Good.
Also, we have new attorney Adam Buckley here with us tonight.
Adam.
In the back, we have cashier Mary Diangikis, who's due with us, and also...
Hi, Mary.
Hi, I'm Mary. I wrote a little bit of something.
Oh, boy, okay.
Yeah. Mary is a 33-year resident in Peabody. She came from the banking industry, and she knows how to handle the customers and payments, and I think is a great addition to PNLD. Mary Diangikis.
Welcome, Mary.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yep. And also we are in the business division, we have William Parente. He's going to be the yard man 2, or is the yard man 2. He's already started. And he's a Peabody High School graduate. And he started ready to work. That's what he told me. So welcome him too.
They've all been doing a great job so far. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
Good to have you aboard.
Thank you.
All right, good. All set with that? All right, we're going to, looking for some approval of some minutes. Minutes of the regular meeting of March 24th, 2022.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move approval of those meeting minutes of March 24th, 2022, please.
Looking for a second, please.
Second.
All for, any opposed? Also looking for the approval of the minutes from executive session meeting, March 24th, 2022, but not to release.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All for, any opposed? It's a vote. Moving on to appointments, any remarks of the general public? Yes.
Good evening.
Hello.
My name is Susan Smoller. I'm at 3 Loman Circle here in Peabody. And I wanted to speak with you tonight to make sure that you were aware of the new report that MCAN put out just this week. That was the topic of an article in the Boston Globe and also a question at last night's Democratic gubernatorial debate on climate. And it's called the Municipal Light Plant Energy Mix Report. And the report provides a snapshot of the percentage of clean and non-emitting energy in MLP's energy mixes. And it very well illustrates the complexity of all the requirements we all have to deal with, GGES, REX, the Next Generation Roadmap. There's certainly a lot to digest in this report, but I found one part of it very illuminating, and I wanted to share that with you. and that is regarding the successful measures taken by other MLP communities to implement what they call power supply policies. They've already been adopted in Belmont, Concord, and Shrewsbury. 2 of those communities are at the top of the energy mix success story. And reading from the report, it says such policies are a transparent way to establish clear energy mix goals, outline a REC retirement schedule, and provide a clear process for public input on revising and updating emissions reduction targets. So if you haven't seen the report, I'm more than happy to send you the link to it. But what I brought with me tonight to share with you in paper, and I can send you the link as well, is one of these power supply policies. This one comes from Belmont, and they were highly rated in this policy for its effectiveness. So I thought, there's something here we could all get out of this, which is learn a little bit about what's working other places. So I'll submit this, and happy to send you the link to the MCAN report as well if you haven't seen it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would you make sure we get that link? That'd be great.
I will, thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Any other remarks from the general public?
What, the same thing, right?
Nope. All right, seeing and hearing none. We're going to move on to the 2021 financial Powers and Sullivan report. Yeah, sure.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Nelligan. I'm a partner with Powers and Sullivan, and I'm going to give you a brief overview of the audit and then let you have an opportunity to ask any questions on any of the numbers or any of the schedules that are in the financials. So we did the audit was conducted in person this year, fully in person, during the week of March 7th to 11th. We had 3 people plus myself involved in the audit, and everything went very smoothly. So we counted your inventory on January 6th with no exceptions. The warehouses were very clean and very well organized. They had no issues finding anything that we selected. Everything went very smoothly there. We sent out some AR confirmations this year. That's a letter to your customers saying that our records show that your balance is X, and if you have any issues with that, let us know. We got no responses back, so all the customers that we selected, and we did a random sample of 25 customers and got no comments back from any of them on questioning the bill, so those bills were all right. There were no new accounting standards this year, and there's no new schedules or footnotes in the financial statements, so they're pretty much all the same as what they've been in the past. During the audit, we had no audit adjustments. There's certain reclassifications that we make to record current portions of things and non-current portions, and to book the Opeb liability and things like that, but no adjustments to your basic books. They're in good shape. They're all reconciled. We had no issues with anything. Again, the audit went very smoothly. Karen and her team put together a great package for us. Everything that we asked for was ready and available through our secure portal the week that we came. It was all done before we got here, so everything went very smoothly, and we plan to get most everything done in the week that we're here, and that all happened without any issues at all. So there were no hold items once we left at all, so everything went very smoothly. Our audit opinions are on page 1 through 3. It's a 3-page opinion now. In the old days, if it was 2 paragraphs, it was good, and if it was 3, it was bad. Today, it's about 17 paragraphs, and it's still good. And you might notice when you read our opinion that it's a little different format from what it was last year. The AICPA, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, they draft up the opinions that we all use so that they're standardized. And they changed it again this year. They hadn't changed it in about 10 years. And so this is the first time that they changed it. They added a few more paragraphs, so that's why it keeps getting longer and longer. But trust me that it's still a clean opinion. And at the end of the page 3, there's a a paragraph called, labeled Other Reporting Requirements by Government Accounting Standards, and that paragraph is referring to another audit opinion that's at the back of the report on our review of compliance of laws and regulations and things, and that is also a clean opinion. That report is kind of hard to figure out what's going on, but it's basically saying that in accordance with government accounting standards, we tested compliance with laws and regulations and found no exceptions to anything. So that's what I'll call a clean opinion.
I have a question. So when you say so this is boilerplate? The paragraph titles are boilerplate, and you are charged with filling them in with your opinion? Is that how?
Yeah, so what they really want to do is make all the auditors' reports the same,
Right.
as long as it's a clean opinion. So there's a
Right.
template for a clean opinion, there's a template for a qualified opinion, what they now call a modified opinion,
Right.
and there's a different template for a disclaimer of an opinion. So there's 3 different types of opinions that we could offer, and if you had a qualified opinion and there were different reasons for those qualifications, those would all be labeled and spelled out and so forth, but this is the template for a clean audit opinion.
Right.
And you'll see this same opinion at any other light plant that you go to, or any other enterprise fund of a community like this. So they're all standardized, and they want them to be that way.
Right.
So I'll quickly just go through so our audit opinion is on page 1 through 3. The next section is management's discussion and analysis, which kind of talks about what the financial statements consist of. It gives you comparative summary information on the financial statements themselves, and then talks about some highlights. And then, pretty much for the year, you had a year very similar to last year. Your sales were up 3.7%, your expenses were up 3.9%. Your operating loss for the year before non-operating income was about the same, just over $1 million in each year. And your bottom line for both years was $542,000 last year and $537,000 this year. So it was very similar to last year. The biggest thing that I think that happened was you spent down your cash a little bit. Your investments went down by $10 million that you put into the 2015 A project. And that's about the biggest change on the balance sheet, if you will. Everything else is pretty much in line with last year. Receivables came down a little bit, and I think that's just a function of people paying their bills quicker this year than they did last year in the COVID pandemic. And pretty much everything else is the same. The net pension liability came down by $838,000. The net Opeb liability came down by a little over $1.5 million. And that's trending in that way because you've got $8 million now set aside in that Opeb trust. That's on page 14. And 15 is the activities for the Opeb trust. You actually earned 25% rate of return on your money in the Opeb trust fund last year. $1,589,000 was the investment income for the year.
What do you anticipate this year?
Probably not that much.
I was just kidding.
But if you take a look at that number, you're contributing, last year you contributed $255,000 to the plan. And, that's like earning $1.6 million on the investments is covering that contribution for a number of years. So you're at the point now where your actuary on the newest valuation is not recommending you need to continue to fund that to maintain your liability where it is. And that's differences between OPEB and pensions is pensions you can set your discount rate. OPEB you have to earn your discount rate, and it's a function of your commitment to contribute, the way that you've got your funds invested, and your other policies around the plan itself, and how much the employees participate in it, and how much that you pay, so forth. So there's a formula to peg the discount on the OPEB that's different from pensions. And contributing to that is a big factor. So if you decide not to contribute, I don't think the discount will change right away, but over time it would go down, and that would cause your liability to go back up again and cause you to start funding again anyway. So if you can afford to put a little bit in, it's probably not a bad idea.
Is there a number that we have to achieve by a certain year? I'm trying to remember the beginning of this OPEB thing.
No, you know what? It's the same as the pension plan. It's going to change depending on how many employees you have and how the age of those employees if the whole population, gets closer towards retirement age, then the liability goes up because of those mortality factors and things like that, and their nearness to retirement. The more people that you have out on retirement collecting those benefits causes the liability to go up. So there's a lot of factors. It's a dynamic situation that's never going to be. You may get it fully funded 1 year, not put anything in for a few years, and then all of a sudden you start to have a liability build back up again. So
where we need to be?
You're very close to where you need to be. You're about 80% funded, and you're in good shape. So, but every year you have a year like this, where you earn 25% on your investments. That's great. That takes care of a lot of years of making contributions if you don't want to. So, I think I'll take you to page 13 on the statement of cash flows. It's you earned about a little over $2 million a year on operations. This year you invested another $10 million in the 25A project, as I mentioned. You paid payment in lieu of taxes to Peabody and Linfield totaling $510,000. You had acquisitions of new assets of $3.7 million, and your change in cash and cash equivalents was a decrease of about a little over $1 million. So your investments went down by almost $8.9 million, and your operating cash went down by $1 million, and that's where the $10 million came from. It came out of the trust fund, but that's where how it flowed through the cash flow statement. So that's really the last thing I want to point out on that. The rest of the report are the notes to the financial statements and required supplementary information that talks about your funding on your pension plan and your Opeb liability. And then beyond that are the other schedules that you include. There's a schedule of the Enterprise Fund and Power Supply Trust Fund on page 48. There's a detailed listing of your plant in service on the next few pages. There's a schedule of electric revenue by rate that details out all the different components of your revenue classes. And finally, on page 52, there's a schedule of kilowatt-hour loss computation that shows a unaccounted for loss of 1.42% compared to 1.13% for the year before. And if I remember correctly, the year before that, the loss was greater than that. So last year you was about the least amount of electricity that was lost. So, and still it's under 2%, way under 2%. So you're in good shape there. So that's pretty much my report. I'd be glad to take any questions or anything like that if anyone has questions or.
As usual.
Anybody have any questions?
Just thanks to the accounting department, as usual.
Yeah, perfect.
It's great.
I think we're all set.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. We very much enjoy your business, and thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, have a good evening, everyone. Thank you. We'll be around if you want to talk.
Okay.
All right. So next we have correspondence.
So we have two items of correspondence. One was from customer Faith Honer Coakley, sent a note showing her appreciation for PMLP's historical calendars, which memorialized in the June 2022 section her grandfather's store, Carter's Market, from 1935.
That's cool.
Yeah, this is a good note.
Nice.
Also, we received a letter of invitation from the Peabody Veterans Council to attend the Memorial Day Parade on May 30th, beginning at 11 o'clock on Washington Street and Allens Lane, and ending on the lawn at City Hall.
Perfect. All right, Mr. Manager's report. Status reports.
All right. So first off, we have the City of Peabody held its Student Government Day on April 7th. Earlier this month, John Mayhos and I hosted two students, Cloyra Sharka, and she was the Student Light Commissioner, and then there was Tommy Davidson, who was the Student Manager. We toured the facility here. We took a field trip to the Ipswich River Substation. We round out the day by returning back to City Hall for a dinner and a presentation of award certificates to the students. finally, with a school council and city council meeting, which went well. Next, we've identified 21 different surplus items that we'd like to auction off on Gov Deals. These items range from old gym equipment to some 25 kV poly insulators that may be another great target for the Navajo Nation. I'd like to request that the PMLC make a motion to declare these items surplus.
Okay, looking for a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would like to move that we declare the heretofore mentioned items surplus. For the purpose of, are we just going to give them to somebody, or just, are they earmarked?
We'll either auction them off or donate them.
Okay.
All right, looking for a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second. We need a roll call, yeah?
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Melvin? Commissioner Parrott?
Yeah.
Commissioner DeVano?
Yes.
Commissioner Ailes?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, committee reports, seeing none.
Hold on,
Oh, go
sir,
ahead.
we added.
Oh, yeah, that's right, too,
one
yep,
item
yep.
to the manager's report, and that is, Matt Ide is here from MWEC to discuss the 2022A project. Okay, I'll move out of the way. I put the PowerPoint on the desktop, Ryan.
Well, thank you very much. Again, it's good to be back. My name is Matt Ide. I'm the Executive Director of Energy and Financial Markets at MWEC. Part of the scope of my responsibilities is managing the power portfolio. And what I'm here to give you is a brief power portfolio update, focusing on increasing the carbon-free power generation inside of Peabody Municipal Light Plant's power portfolio. So the next slide talks about the governance that the municipal light plants are under as a result of the climate bill that was passed by the legislature and signed by the governor, establishing the greenhouse emission standard for municipal light plants, or what we call GGES. So what this chart is really showing you is your current portfolio represented by the green, where you have generating assets that qualify under the GGS program and effectively are non-carbon emitting. You'll also see some little slashes on top of the green. Those represent assets that are generating renewable energy credits, which to date PMLP has been selling into the market. Primarily, these RECs are coming from investments in Berkshire Wind. And when Berkshire Wind was first created, the RECs were designed to be sold into the marketplace to effectively reduce the cost of the power that the asset generated as an incentive for people like Peabody to go in and start building this renewable technology. Under the GGS climate bill, you have the option now of essentially not selling the RECs and retiring the RECs, and then if you do retire the RECs, they will be counted under the GGS program. So those slashed lines would then turn into solid green. So you have that option, and what that would effectively do is increase the percentage of your portfolio that is non-carbon emitting. The black line are the targets or the requirements that the law has presented. So the first measurable date under the law is in 2030, where effectively 50% of your portfolio has to come from non-carbon emitting resources that qualify under the legislation. So right now you can kind of see we have some work to do to get that portfolio to comply in 2030. The next measurement date is 2040, where that would then have to go up to 75% of your portfolio. And then after that, we have to go to 2050, where effectively you have to be net zero, or what is practically 100% non-carbon emitting. So the challenge that we have on the energy portfolio is to get that green up to those levels to comply with the legislation. And as you can see, we have to be thinking a little bit forward over the next couple decades to make sure that we've got things in line and in place so that you'll be able to meet your responsibilities under the GGS climate bill. So the question then becomes, where do we see a lot of opportunity to put renewables into your portfolio, or non-carbon emitting assets into your portfolio that qualify under GGS? One of those places I'm showing you is on the next slide. So what we do at EMWIC is we subscribe to a variety of services that follow the energy markets and compile that information to help us with some of our long-term forecasting. So what this chart is essentially showing is the historical and the forecasted generation mix for New England. In other words, where is the power expected to come from in New England, especially in the future? And what this chart is really showing is a fundamental transformation of where we see power coming from. So on the left side of that chart, the year starts in 2008, and you can see historically where we have received our power has really been predominantly a combination of natural gas, which is represented in the blue bars on the bottom, and nuclear, which is represented by the green bars in the middle. And the red bar, just for illustration purposes, is actually coal. So you're seeing how coal over time has gone away, but it's been effectively replaced by natural gas. So we were looking at a power stack that was primarily nuclear and natural gas. But if we look forward, which is farther to the right, and we go all the way out to 2050, there's a major change that we're seeing in this chart. And that major change is essentially represented by the orange. And the orange is representative of wind. So you can kind of see when we look into the future and we're seeing mandates from the various New England states, we're seeing market trends that are moving us more and more to non-carbon emitting and renewable resources, the manifestation of those trends is forecasted to shift the generation curve, where you can see if we go all the way out to 2050, the biggest color on that bar for 2050 is effectively wind. So you're seeing effectively the shift in the power stack that's anticipated to happen over the next couple decades. And one of the big changes is that we expect wind, primarily offshore wind, to come in a very, very material way to supply the electric needs of the region in the next decade or two. So if we go to the next slide, we're getting back to the slide that I talked about before. And that is where Peabody is. So obviously Peabody, to meet the 2030 requirement, we've got to get non-carbon emitting resources into the power portfolio. And we have to do not only that for 2030, but we have to do it for 2045, and we got to do it all the way out to 2050. And as you can see, the farther out we go, there's more space that we've got to fill. So if you think about the slide that I just showed you, where we're seeing the power stack change, and it's being changed and being driven by wind, primarily offshore wind, it is pretty evident to us that in order to get you the non-carbon emitting and the renewable resources that you're going to need to comply for policy purposes, and looking at where we see the power stack shifting with the advent of new wind, it only makes sense to us that we got to start to get all of our members positioned to take advantage of the wind that's coming and to build more and more wind, primarily offshore wind, into their portfolios. So that's kind of the update. I think later on, in executive session, we'll be going in a little bit more detail about a project and its commercial applications and its costs and things of that nature that are commercially sensitive. But we definitely wanted to kind of introduce this and show you where we're seeing wind becoming more and more of an important role in the generation stack in the region, and our desire to get more and more wind into each individual MLP's portfolio to comply with the requirements that are in front of you.
Great. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you very much.
Matt, so the bottom, right, where it goes from 2020 to 2029, you know, it's a horizontal line. I'm assuming we're going to go like this to get to 2030? I mean, we're not just going to wake up on 2029 and have
Exactly,
what we need,
right.
I mean,
It's very consistent with all of our energy hedging. It is to layer you in and get you
Right.
in that trajectory to get you where you need to be.
So it has to be available for us, right? I mean, we're not going to create this
Right, well, that's-
ourselves, right? It's going to be available.
Yeah, so if you think, you kind of think about it, based on your governance requirements of when you want to get to those compliance levels, you could kind of like draw a line, and in general, that line is going to be like an inclining line. Now, the practical reality is what you're pointing out, is you don't have a magic wand to have these things magically appear when you absolutely need them.
Right.
So that's a lot of what we do in going out, negotiating with developers, forecasting, you know, when we think there are going to be opportunities that are going to be coming forth, getting out in front of them, and effectively what's going to end up happening is that green, when that fills in, it's not going to fill in on a straight line. You're going to have kind of, you know,
Right, yeah.
layers, but it's going to get you where you need to be.
Matt, excuse me, has EMWEC looked at SMR technology? I mean, I see it kind of going the opposite way, and I'm hearing a lot of things about it.
Yep.
And I understand the first one's going to come online in 2029, which is right before our goals.
Yep.
Do you know anything about that? Is anything that's something that could be on the horizon for
Yes.
EMWEC?
Yeah,
Thought about?
Absolutely. It is definitely a possibility. We actually are in discussions and learning about that technology. It holds a lot of promise. It's a question from our mind that right now, we're looking at a development out in Utah, which is kind of the project that most people are looking at to test whether that technology is applicable. But as far as what we can see now, that it holds promise, and it could be a good fit in the portfolio, especially somewhat in those out years where we got a big gap that we've got to fill.
So I guess it would be safe to say that, looking at a graph, and a chart, the technologies really haven't caught up yet with what the government has set forth for 2050.
Well, I think that the technologies have made great strides to start to really get there.
Yep.
I think what's been very helpful is kind of I would say the recognition, at least here in Massachusetts, especially by the light departments, to work with the legislature to establish the GGES. With the establishment of the GGES, it gives organizations like EMWEC, whose our role is to, you know, advise and help people get where they need to be based on their governance requirements. It makes things a lot more clear so that we can talk to developers, and if I'm a technology developer, it allows me to identify where the market is, and then I can plan and I can develop technologies then to sell to utilities. So there's a lot, over the last few years, there's a lot more certainty on the direction of where we have to go. And I think it's been very helpful and very instructive to let us assemble the roadmaps like we've assembled for municipal light plants like Peabody, to kind of get people, a general plan of directionally how they can get to where they want to be. And then from a governance point of view, it becomes a policy question about speed and pace.
What, at the risk of going backwards, what SMR? What is it?
It's a modular nuclear reactor.
It's new technology.
Yes.
It's 300 megawatts. This is probably the maximum size, I believe. The first one's scheduled to come out 2029. And I think they're going to build it in Idaho, somewhere in the Midwest. It's very promising. It doesn't have to be near great water sources. You can put them underground. I don't know, I think and new technologies are emerging every day.
Yep.
And I always get the feeling that really, I know they've set a goal for us for 2050, but hope that the technologies kind of come along with that, and and your graph may change, and different things might come into it.
Yep.
Who knows?
Yeah. And I stand corrected. You're right. It is Idaho.
It was Idaho, I thought.
Yeah, I misspoke.
I follow a lot of these new things, new technologies.
You're right, Commissioner. The goal gets things moving, but it's going to be different. In 10 years, this will be different.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a goal. And so, we're in the electric business, and the goals were set by politicians.
Right.
So, it's kind of like setting the bar high, and you got to jump to it. And,
feels good.
And I think we're making great strides to do that. And, just judging by our graph here, and I know that we're pretty divested in a lot of carbon-free electricity now. That's all for me. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. I think at that rate, by 2050, I'm going to be net zero. I'm pretty sure of that.
That's why they set the deadline in 2050.
I'll be 90.
We won't be around.
Yeah, I certainly won't be 60.
still chugging it.
I don't know, but I'm
There's
going
amendments to that.
to certainly be net 5.
All right. So next we, committee report, seeing none. Award of bids, we don't have any. The next general business, the 2022A project.
Okay. So the 2022A project is a large battery project. If you'd like, Commission, would like to take a vote tonight to participate in that project, but I've prepared a few summary objects to bullet points just to refresh your memory of what it is we'd be talking about. Perfect. So the battery is located in Ludlow, Massachusetts at the MWEC facility. MWEC will share in 35 megawatts of that project. Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, by the way. PMLP share will be 8.3% of those 35 megawatts, or 2.9 megawatts. This will provide PMLP with 2% of our capacity obligations, and we can use that as a hedge against the volatile capacity market prices. That project is expected to go online in June of 2025. Provides PMLP with an additional revenue stream called, from the Clean Peak credits, which are issued from the Commonwealth's Clean Peak Standard. We can then sell these credits to IOUs, and the revenue will help keep the rates low here in Peabody. An additional revenue stream from that will be something called energy arbitrage, which is a positive net revenue we'll realize by charging the battery overnight during low rates, and then discharging and selling that energy when the peak rates are higher. So we'll get a net value on that. The battery will have a 15-year lifespan, roughly, and PMLP's total 15-year cost is estimated at $6.2 million. Our total 15-year revenues will be estimated at $7.4 million, so it will provide us with a net gain of $1.2 million. That's it for the bullet points.
Anybody have any questions?
Battery life, 15 years. Is that proven?
What happens, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just curious of the 15-year battery life. Has batteries already survived 15 years that we know of?
Well, they have, and also, particular to this project, as part of the ongoing operating maintenance is investment to upkeep the battery, so it keeps it at the capacity level that we expect. So it's not like it's a standalone and then you don't touch it for 15 years and then
Ongoing upkeep, too.
you're always going to, kind of do some things.
There
We
might
have a
be
trickle
some-
charger on it.
Yeah, so there might be something coming in 15 years that we might have to put some more money into.
There's always there will be a decision point to either repower, to extend life, and that most likely will have some capital expense to it, and then we'd have to make a decision, is that
So-
worthwhile?
A repower or just a new battery? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Repower just-
I'm kind of getting off because I'm not an engineer.
Yeah.
But I think there would be an opportunity at the end of the 15-year period to assess where it is and what current battery technology is like, 15 years from now. The point is that we've got a project that's already hooked up to the transmission lines.
Yep.
If there's the way of essentially cycling in another battery that makes economic sense to do it,
Yeah.
I think you'd have an expectation that the project would continue. But it most likely would require another capital infusion, whether it came from the participants or we financed it. Those would be the options.
So is it just all participants that's going to participate in this battery project, or are we going to have any outside people that will?
Yeah, we believe what will happen is there'll be EMWIC members and non-EMWIC members that will be participating in this project in various ways. There's the equity project participation, which is what you're asked to be voting on.
Yep.
There's also it's a 100 megawatt total
Yep.
battery.
Yep.
We're partnering with another company and the other company is the lead developer, but there's opportunities to take more from their side of the project. So we would expect, when it's all said and done, that there will be municipal light plants participating in this battery that are both EMWIC members and
But municipals?
municipals, yes.
Oh, I see.
Where do we get these batteries and how do we dispose of them if they're no good? Are they made in the United States?
Unfortunately, because of our contract with the lead developer, and we're an open session, I can't.
Oh, you can't go, okay. Sorry.
All right, so-
I'd love to make a motion.
Okay, make a
If
motion.
there's any, we can discuss. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we authorize the manager to initiate our participation into the 2022A battery project at a cost of $6.2 million. The payment, the funds, payment for which will be determined at a later date from resources.
Okay. Looking for a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call?
There's a natural vote.
Do we have to read that out loud?
I have it.
To do that after the
Okay.
motion?
You're reading the vote.
I got no glasses tonight.
You have no glasses?
I can barely read.
You want to read it?
I can try.
Ray will
If you can have the vote to incorporate the language.
Ray can read it.
Oh, you can just refer to this? Can you make the motion to refer to the vote, on the paper vote, without having to read it all?
I don't understand.
All right, so,
That's fine.
Well, I
That's
can
fine.
amend that motion.
So you can make the motion and say, using this language here,
Right.
which, if you want it to be read, I mean, I'd be happy to read it, too.
Yeah.
It doesn't, just needs to be read.
So I'm not sure what you want me to do.
you want it? Who wants to read?
I'll read it. From where to where?
We do, the voting.
Yeah.
That we read it.
Okay.
And then the second page.
So I just have to read this part.
Yeah, that says voting.
So I move that the Peabody Municipal Lighting Commission, in accordance with statute 91975, Chapter 775, hereby votes and agrees to participate in MWEC's Special Project 2022A, and that the Peabody Municipal Lighting Commission, in accordance with Statute 1975, Chapter 1775, hereby agrees to pay its pro rata share of the cost carrying out Special Project 2022A established by the MWEC Board of Directors in the Special Project Fund for such Special Project 2022A, which pro rata share shall be based on the city or town's participation, on our participation in Special Project 2022A, and that the Peabody Municipal Lighting Commission, through the Peabody Municipal Light Plant, in accordance with Statute 1975, Chapter 775, hereby agrees to execute, deliver, and perform its obligations under MWEC Battery Storage Project 2022A Power Sales Agreement, PSA, substantially in the form of the PSA presented to the Peabody Municipal Lighting Commission and made a part of the record of this meeting, and authorizes the manager to execute the PSA at a time he deems it appropriate. And PMLD directs the manager to cause PMLP to perform all of the Peabody Municipal Light Plant's obligations under PSA, and to take any and all further actions the general manager deems may be required to carry out, give effect to, and consummate the transactions contemplated by this vote, including but not limited to the execution of any other documents, and that the manager is hereby authorized and directed to make payments to MWEC calculated as set forth in the preceding paragraph 2, and that the manager is hereby authorized and directed to execute the participation acknowledgement, copy of which has been presented at this meeting and is filled with the permanent records thereof, and that any actions previously taken by the manager which are consistent with the purpose of this vote are hereby ratified and confirmed.
Thank you. So I have a motion by Commissioner D'Amato, seconded by Commissioner Parr. Commissioner Bonfanti?
Yes.
Commissioner Melvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Parr?
Yes.
Commissioner D'Amato?
I'm not sure, I'm going to read it again.
Okay.
No, I'm like, yes.
Commissioner Ailes?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
I like my motion better. My motion was better. Yeah, keep going.
Next, for general business, we have an information brief with summary on our Opeb or other post-employment benefits by Business Manager Karen Ritucci.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
As you heard from Mike Nelligan, the auditor, he did talk about OPEB, which is the other post-employee benefits, somewhat during his presentation, but I did write some bullet points down just to, give you some more information about OPEB. It's a huge part of the audit, and we'll go from there. The Opeb Fund was established in 2014 and is held with MWEC, who monitors the portfolio. The Opeb Fund will be used to help pay for PMLP retired employees' health care once it's fully funded. The fund is reported on the 6/30 fiscal year that follows the city and is governed by GASB 74 and 75. That's the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. Dan Sherman is our actuary from Sherman Actuarial Services. He makes assumptions from the data he receives and calculates the discount rate that Mike informed us about earlier. Our discount rate is 7%, which is based on contributions, expenses, and long-term expected rate of return. To keep this advantageous rate, PMLP budget and contributes some amount every year until it's fully funded. He mentioned that our investment income did very well this year, was almost $1.6 million. However, I attended a vendor webinar yesterday on this subject, and experts expect a lower projected return for the next 5 to 7 years due to the rising interest rates and the Ukraine war, the unexpected Ukraine war. So we did very well, and it helped us a lot in 2021, but projections aren't too good. As you said, we're 77% funded, almost 80%. We were 62% the year before, so we've increased that by 15%, which is great. The latest report on 3/31/22, we did decrease by 52,000. So after speaking with the actuary, Dan Sherman, he agreed to make up the difference. Would be a great idea, $50,000, which we budgeted. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will continue with the motion. Any questions? Okay. So the staff recommends that the PMLC allow the manager to transfer an amount of $50,000 from the unrestricted cash account into the PMLP Opeb Liability Trust Fund.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Bonfanti?
Yes.
Commissioner Melvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Paris?
Yes.
Commissioner D'Amato?
Yes.
Commissioner Elwood?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kenneth.
Thanks, Shirley.
Our different needs every meeting.
Power Supply Trust Fund.
Yep,
How
so,
is this, Karen, how is this different than our unfunded liability? Sorry.
There's two different funds. One's a pension fund,
Right.
which is for everyone's pension once they retire. This is for healthcare benefits. Because it's a large amount of money, it's always, a budget buster. We're trying to take care
Right.
of the retired employees' healthcare with
Right.
this fund. So once it becomes fully funded, you can use the additional monies to supplement your budget. So we're getting there, just like the pension with the retirement board is getting there.
Right.
But that's the ultimate goal, to become fully funded.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so the next item is the Power Supply Trust Fund itself. With the new commissioner, Ray Melvin, would like to get Commissioner Melvin added to the Power Supply Trust Fund as a course of action. This comes up every year, and we need to add Commissioner Melvin.
Require a motion too?
I'm not certain if it requires a motion. Phil, do you know?
Wouldn't require a motion.
Who does that? Who effectuates that?
I think
We just need, everyone
signature.
needs to sign it.
Oh, okay.
All right, well, we can do that later.
Yeah.
The only other thing to report is that we have a check from MWEC, from the Hydro-Quebec Fund, that in the amount of $39.23, which will be placed into the Rate Stabilization Fund.
Beautiful. All right, do we have any remarks of the commission?
I'd like to welcome all the new employees, and I wish everyone had a happy Easter. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to echo those sentiments. I'm happy that Alex is back, and happy to have Adam aboard, and I appreciate that Bill's going to help transition many, many years of service to the light plant, and we're all happy about that, and we appreciate it, but we also thrilled that you'll continue to make the transition smooth for Adam. That's it.
All right.
Great.
And that's about it. So I think we're looking for a motion to end regular session and head into executive session with not to return.
To return.
Oh, to return.
Yes.
We are going to return. Mr. Chairman, I move that we end public session and head into executive session for the purpose of conducting strategy sessions, collective bargaining, discuss trade secrets, and to return to public session.
Right.
Second?
I can second. I can second.
Need a roll call?
Roll call.
Commissioner Bonfanti?
Yes.
Commissioner Melvin?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Paris? Commissioner D'Amato?
Yes.
Commissioner Elwood?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.